Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. This is Raj from Radical TechArt, your process automation strategist. Today we have powerhouse of expertise in digitization, Industry 4.0 and digital manufacturing. Mr. Bhushan Bhatt here. With masters in international automotive engineering from Germany and years of global experience, he has successfully founded multiple ventures, including Vezapp Solutions and the Metal Jobs. From working with European automotive giants to driving digital transformation in India, Bhushan brings a wealth of insight into automation, simulation, IoT, and smart manufacturing in particularly foundry industry. So get ready for an inspiring conversation as we dive into his journey, the future of digitization, and how technology is shaping the industry. Let's get started. So, before starting, can you, sir, share how you came into this foundry industry and what is your experience in this?
Okay, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me for this podcast. I'm very happy and I will be happy to have a conversation with you on this. So, I have never planned to be entrepreneur, frankly, and I always say that I'm an accidental entrepreneur. Reason being is that it's not a strategy or something in mind I had, right from engineering or background that okay, I will start my business at one day. But during the pandemic and before that, when we had this recession time, actually that leads to me to the business. I'm very thankful to recession for this. Then have today sitting here as an entrepreneur.
So, you mean to say you just started your business after COVID?
No, I mean to say I started two businesses. So one opportunity that came to me was recession in 2009.
Okay.
That leads to me starting business in 2009. That's where actually I started entrepreneurship. And the second opportunity that gave me was in pandemic and COVID, which leads to the another venture which I started in Vezapp. So I have two ventures. Both of them are thankfully gifted, one by recession and one by pandemic.
Oh, that's great. So, you mean to say you always convert all disasters into the opportunities?
Can say this way.
Yeah. Right. So, can you share how many startups you have founded till today? And what's the core behind that? I want to know that.
So I have basically three startups. I mean, one is very small baby as of today. Two are already grown. So the first one was in 2009, wherein I came back from Austria. I was working there into global R&D center, mainly with automotive development and simulation in those areas. So in 2009, when I came back, I started with Auto Design Online, which is dealing with all type of casting simulation, product development, metrology, quality management system softwares. And those were all that venture specifically was more or less, I would say, dependent, where we were being as a reseller. So that is a lesson we learned from there, before we started a second called Vezapp in 2019, where we learned from this reseller journey and we realized why we need our own product. That leads to the second startup, which happened in 2020. And just after that, recently in 2024, we just launched a job portal specifically for metal industry. It's called as the Metal Jobs, where we understood the gap between available workforce pool and the foundries and the metal industry who are looking for such professionals, or even at the blue collar and operator level. So we are trying to make a bridge between these two areas.
Okay.
Only three startups to specific to your question will be Auto Design Online, Vezapp, and the Metal Jobs.
Okay. From your experience, can you share how foundry industry is performing nowadays and just compare it with 15 years back in 1950? How was the foundry industry, and right now, what advancement have done by the industry?
So, last 10 years, I would say the adoption of technology in Foundry has significantly grown. If I say before 10 years, explaining simulation, the need of simulation software or digitization was a challenge. It's not upfront adapted, or they were so much curious to implement those areas. Now that is part of their job and that is part of the business that, okay, it is necessary to have simulation software, technologies, digitization. So the adaptability of this kind of technology has significantly grown in last 10 years. Apart from that, the before 10 years, the founders, let's say, which were small and mid-scale, the scale has grown. So they also participate in international exhibitions. They also having customers from different countries. That also enables them, to find out the need, how to become more professionals and adoption of these technologies, because the way they're delivering goods to the global companies has also enabled them to adoption of this technology as well. And China plus one policy has also bring some of the business to Indian market as well. So that helps them to scale and adoption technology, because the business level has grown, has also happened.
Okay. So you are developing one type of ERP software, right? So I wanted to know that consumer behavior. What are the main key problems they are facing right now? Just describe three so that we can go further on this.
Right. Just one clarification before this. We are not actually an ERP system,
Okay.
because in ERP system is a module, like if you go to any foundry, I try to explain this way to even, to students and others, that when you go to the foundry, there are basically two buildings. One is your admin building and one is your shop floor building. So in general, even if it's not foundry, the admin building is what technically requires ERP software, right? So ERP software takes care of your sales, quotations, marketing, purchase, finance, inventory, invoicing, and so on and so forth, accounting. And that division, I would say broadly, is a software, in terms of software, is not bothered about technicalities. When I say technicalities, I mean of temperatures, let's say the tensile strengths or hardness or those parameters. Now, all these parameters which are in technical sides are belong to the shop floor building. So how good is the quality of the part? How it is processed? What are the technical parameters were used in stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 and 4? Now those technical parameters are generally not captured in the ERP software, that remains on paper and Excel. Now that is where the challenge and that is where the need was arise. Why we need to digitize the second place, which is a shop floor? Because mostly the first building is already digitized by some form of software in ERP, whether it's Tele or let's say the SAP or anything in between. But the major need was the second part, which was the shop floor area, which was not digitized, and that is where we have come into picture. So this is just bringing to the, explaining there is a difference between ERP system and what we are doing is mainly for a technicalities part, which is into the shop floor areas.
Okay. Thank you so much for giving the understanding for this difference between what is ERP and your application is all about. Now you have mentioned two different words, digitization and digitalization. So I wanted to know that what is the difference between digitalization and fully digital transformation? Because there is a huge difference between that, I guess, but I don't know. So our viewers also is interested in knowing this. So can you just elaborate in detail?
This is a very good question, because generally these words are confusing, and also sometimes in implementation, they are not sure which part they belong to right now. So traditionally, the first of all, the traditional method is you record all the data in the form of paper and Excel. Okay, so paper format is not digitized. When you either scan the papers or let's say you take it to the Excel in some form, that is one level of, or the first level of that, which we call as a digitization, which you digitize, right? Digitalization means that the challenge with digitize remains is that you have to deal with different Excel files, which are island solutions, right? So for example, in my foundry, I have a molding department, melting department, quality department. If everybody even scan the data, or if everybody is still maintaining the Excel file, it is digitized, but it is not digitalized. Why? Because once my mold number or batch number or melt number, if I write in one Excel file, it does not carry automatically to my second Excel file. So if I am recording my quality data about tensile or spectrometer, what was the mold code was or batch code was, I have to still type it because there is no linkage between molding Excel file or a melting Excel file and the quality Excel file. So if you keep into different island solution, it means digitize, but not digitalized. When you create some tool or in Excel, whether you use macro or advanced level of your skill, and if you're able to integrate this Excel file where the QC person does not need to write down the customer name or batch code because it automatically comes from my earlier Excel files, that is digitalization where integration takes place of different island parts. Okay, this is process of digitize to digitalization.
Right.
And digital transformation takes place where not just the recorded data, but even my data from machine to human data to sensor data to IoT data, all this data are combined together available at one platform for review, analytics, alerts, and so on and so forth. That means digital transformation has happened. So the journey is from digitize to digitalize and to digital transformation, but it is a journey. It's not one day job. So you cannot say, I want to achieve digital transformation in 5 days or 1 month or something like that, because you have to go through this process over the period of time. It will not happen overnight.
Right. So you have described very in detail how you are different between digitalization, and digital transformation. But there is a still in India, people are struggling with digitization phase only. Then how your application is helping them? Can you just tell us in detail?
So in my opinion, right now, the available technology is much more ahead than what is required or even what is adopted.
Okay.
So the situation is that because of all the technology enhancement that has happened in last, I would say not even 10 years, but last 5 years, the cloud servers, the SaaS platform, the different user-friendly ways of adopting technology has grown. But you are very right, despite having technology, it has been not yet well adopted. The reason is that let's say if I stick to the metal industry broadly, foundry, forging, stamping, extrusion, their domain is and their expertise is how to make right metal and casting parts or forging parts or extrusion. So there is not in-house available who can judge what type of technology or digitalization required and how to adopt them. So this vacuum is leading them to anything and everything. It means if anybody comes to them and just explain that this is a solution will fit to you, they will probably just accept it. Because there are no process or there are no expertise available within management to distinguish between technology A and technology B or a solution A and solution B. So this leads to the situation that they adopt something, maybe they try it for a couple of months. If it does not fit, then they will give it away. Then second time whosoever person will come, they will be very reluctant to accept because the failure of last time is in their mind. So that is leading to the situation that despite available technology, they are not able to judge which will fit to them. I mean, there is nothing wrong in that. I was recently in one webinar where a group like, giant automotive group from Sweden, they are appointing a consultant to evaluate the problem statement they have, how to solve them with available lots of technologies. So if the giant OEM, global OEM from Sweden is appointing someone to identify which technology will fit to their problem statement, so there's nothing wrong if it has same to be done by metal industry as well.
Right.
So we should not expect that they are having in-house expertise. If they do not have, they should be some person or some way they should be able to bifurcate what needs to be adopted.
But in India, there are some industries who are still very rigid to adopt this type of technology. Then can you tell our viewers and your customers that why fully digital transformation is needed in foundry industries? And can you just tell us how if they are not going to do that, then in next 10 years or 5 years, which type of losses they can suffer, or which type of challenges they could have in the future?
I'm talking specifically about India and APEC region, where most of the foundries has about 70-80% human-based operation, and 20-30% operations are, let's say, automated, I would say. Now, to answer to your question is same. The problem and the reluctance is at same place. Reason is that in the foundry domain and in the metal industry, there are, I would say, experienced person are in the age of between 45 to 65, you know. So now the dependency about, because metal industry is an art of how to make right metal configuration in terms of chemistry, in terms of charge mix, structure, and so on and so forth. So that know-how is available with this experienced person who are mainly working as a, let's say, melting in charge or production in charge or chemistry and so on and so forth. Now, this is the same challenge which is reluctant to adopt this. So right now it works because those people are in front of them, they will be able to guide it. But the transformation of how to make a casting, it's not taking place from that generation to the next. So it is leading to the situation where there is a vacuum of availability of a know-how person of how to make a casting. Now, if that know-how, which is person in front of you, you will not digitize and digitalize, then after 5-10 years, there will be nobody to tell you how to make this casting, despite the fact that you have a legacy of 50 years of making castings. So that transformation of a person who is in front of you right now, if you not adopt digitization and digitalization tool, you will not have a way to use this data in future, and that will lead to the, like problems. It will not like your company will stop, but right now the rejection level that you have or the productivity that you have, that may hamper for some time if digital transformation or digitalization adoption will not take place. That will happen.
Okay. And can you tell us how this application helps in data accuracy manner, and why data accuracy is very important for digital transformation also?
So Vezapp is about a solution which is working on Android, iOS, and web browser, all this platform. So our intention is that in any foundry, whether they are producing, let's say, even 10 tons or 50 tons of casting or 5,000 tons of casting, fact of the matter is they are recording the data, but those data are recorded on paper. What we are proposing through our solution is that instead of recording those data on the paper, we give them the digital logbook.
Okay.
Which can be, because today this device is the most easiest for them. Even the operator level, they are having screen time of 8-10 hours, 6 hours, whatever, right? So this is not now, at one point of time, the computer, and you won't believe, but mouse was one of the reason why many software failed.
Okay.
Because you and me may have used mouse at our school or college level, but those operator level, they have never access to the computer and mouse, right? So irrespective of how user friendly was the software, even the mouse could play a role of software failure in the past. But that challenge is not available anymore because this device today is one of the most friendlier for them. Because WhatsApp or even Reels, probably you and me, we cannot make that good Reels what probably they are able to make today, right? So the idea is we give them the digital logbooks in this device, which is comfortable to them, and they are able to see same fields what they will be able to filling for since last 8-10 years. So they know every field, their meaning. It can be even converted to any language, local language, international language. So the fields are comfortable to them in reading their local language. So we just take a paper out and give them inside their mobile phone the same logbook. That's it. But by doing the simple step, what will happen that all the data collection that happens, right, from molding or in investment casting, there is a slurry coating or melting or pouring, fettling, quality, tensile, micro hardness. All this data that different person are entering from this device is in the background combined together, and in real time all the dashboards and KPI right from HOD level to the plant head to the management level is visible and available 24 by 7 to them.
Okay.
So just a simple step of replacing paper to the digital logbook is actually converting as good as a digitalization. I will not say digital transformation, but digitalization will happen across the level. In any metal industry or any industry, even if you are manufacturing or XYZ platform, that can be done to any area.
So now, can you tell me what challenges are there in implementing this digitalization in Foundry segment?
So, challenges, I would say the first one is mindset. So, I mean, ultimately we are dealing with mindset. You are transforming a person from, typically recording it on paper to digitized form. So the challenges are reluctant to transparency, because as of now, if management calls, where is stock, what is the update on the stock, where is the progress, you can just tell this is how it works, and they generally believe it. But when you go to the digitalization, this transparency is one of the factor that is a challenge seen by, of course, the members or operators or the data reporting team. Now that is one of the challenge. The second part is technology is not a challenge for us, because as I told you that using mobile phone is very easy for them. So that is not the challenge. Internet is also not a challenge in these days, so that's also not a part. And apart from that, the challenge is that the way the data reporting has been done, so they are afraid of my know-how being captured into the system. So for example, if I'm making a X grade, what type of charge mix are added, what was the temperature maintained, what was the addition alloying done. So that is where we seen sometimes a reluctant that they may feel that whatever I know, it is now being available digitally. So another way, I mean, if that is not the case, if anything happens, generally you consult that person and that will solve. But I don't think it's real fear, because it is not going to replace a person. Digitization or digitalization is not replacement to a person. You will still need a person, but rather it is a helping tool where if somebody new is coming or if somebody is making a mistake, through historical data and your own way how you are making a right casting, you will be able to follow that process to ensure the rejection can bring down. So the challenge is mostly is, as I said, it from mindset point of view is more rather than technology point of view.
Okay. Then how much time does it take to implement this whole process in any foundry?
So as far as Vezapp and our solution is concerned, the biggest advantage that we pass on to them is that our implementation time is as low as between 3 weeks to maybe 6 to 8 weeks. Now, this is one of the biggest challenge in any industry, particularly in the metal industry as well, where the implementation time is very long. Of course, that leads to implementation cost also very high as well. But in our case, we are doing 100% customization. And what we do differently here is that we go to on-site, to the foundry, and we know all the process very well, like how casting is made is known to us because we are not an IT company. So we understand the foundry process, we are having a mechanical background, understanding about foundry technologies, the quality aspects and everything. So that leads to the implementation where we sit one-to-one with the user. We see their way of recording the digital, their way of paper recording, and we just in real time convert those paper logbook into digital logbooks live, sitting one-to-one. So we go on site to the customer maybe for 2 weeks, 10 days time, and within 2 weeks of 10 days time, all the framework, the fields will be live. They can test it. So we go live in between, let's say, as I said, between 3 to 6, 8 weeks, depends on size, scale, number of operations that needs to be involved.
Okay. Now, for all this process, you have main two challenges. First is enrolling the Foundry owner, and second one is after enrolling the Foundry owner, you need to inspire manpower also that they can uh, digitally upload all the data. Then how do you educate them for this whole process?
So we always say to the management as well, that we need to give this ownership of this implementation to the user level. So if we keep implementation and success implementation ownership with just IT department or the HODs or management, that will not help. So what we do differently is that to ensure that the rollout and the adoption becomes easier, is that we consult, and while designing the fields and everything, we make the user in the center.
Okay.
So what it leads to is that if he says that don't add this field here, let's say it is not important, we have in paper but we are not filling every time, so we just consult the user and the management or HOD and we just remove that. So what it leads to the situation that user is ultimately becoming the owner of this implementation. So tomorrow he or she cannot say that, oh, I don't know why you have developed this application, I don't know why you have kept this field, I don't need this field, I need this field. This discussion is out of scope now, because at the first level, while designing the fields and discussing the fields, we keep this ownership directly discussion bring to the level of users. So that's why user is aware what this application is all about, what data he or she needs to fill, and why he is or she is filling it. So this becomes very much clear to them, and because of this, they already know this: when I will get this version to enter the data, I have to enter this field, and this is useful to me, or these are the fields I need. So that becomes handholding much more easier.
Okay, I just have one more question that all these data are secured in any server or in a cloud-based software, or you can say in cloud you are going to save this data.
So all our data, because we are providing SaaS application, this is software as a service. So we don't have any exe file installation or server access, local server that you have probably on your premises. So the whole data is stored on the cloud server, and we are using Amazon Web Service Cloud, and that is the reason why in last 5 years the cloud servers are becoming super faster, easily accessible, and they are much more safer than the on-premises server.
Okay.
Why I'm saying is that in any metal industry, your core domain and know-how is how to make a casting, how to make a forging or extrusions, right? You are not having an expert of team who has the capabilities of IT server management compared to what Azure or Google or let's say AWS servers are providing. So they are having a facility because of which they are charging, where the data is encrypted. They do discovery and the management about any kind of natural calamities or something happens. They have a backups process in the different places, even different continentals. Now those kind of security you will not be able to do on your own if you have on premises data. So today the cloud server is actually much more safer than on premises server.
Okay, that's great.
And that is the reason why we have developed application on the cloud server rather than on premises.
Okay. But how do you maintain data security here? Like, if there is a access of this data of many management levels, then is there any user level available? Then user one is defined with some other data only, and after that user two can access only some type of data. And what are the features there in your software?
So to keep in mind the data security, we have given different user role. So for example, there is an admin level, there is a submitter level, that they can just submit the data. Then there are also like we don't want to allow them to edit the data after they fill it, right? So something wrong happened, like if some casting got rejected and now we feels that let change this. So initially let's say there was 50 molds made, 50 melt, 50 pouring. Now after pouring they find out 30 got rejected because of in knockout they find it. So on paper I can go on in Excel, I can go, okay, 30 mold made, 30 casting poured and 30 available, right? Here it will not be happen because the molding person has already entered the 50 molds. Now if they find out in knockout that 20 got rejected, let's all of us just say 30 molds made, 30 pouring done, 30 knockout done, no rejection. This is not possible now because they can put into the melt and say, okay, there is no casting never made, right? This casting was never made. This will not possible now because the person who is reported 50 molds at that time, he does not know that there could be rejections. So let me just enter 30. Right? So that is one part. Second, considering the security aspects, as I told you, the admin level, let's say your masters about customer or supplier or part master, that role, those data is not available with everyone. So the operator level who is entering the data about daily production is not having the access of master data, right? So only the management or admin level has those crucial data accessibility. The downline has only access to the daily production, rejection, quantity, rejection reason. That is the data they are only accessing. And above that, this all data accesses by user credentials. So we know from the location, from the ID, who has entered the data, and so on and so forth. So those are different levels of security points enable to ensure the data security of the company is not outside. Like,
okay, but there is one more problem there. Like employees are not habituated with this much transparency. Then how you or your foundry owners are empowering them to put data on time?
Yes, so this is a challenge. I agree with you. The only way, what we have learned so far in our experience is that we gradually take away from paper to digital formats. So for example, when we start and roll out, we keep the paper and the application both, maybe for let's say initial 1 month, 1.5 month, 2 months, right? Then gradually we they enter the data because for let's say 1 or 2 months, they got used to how to enter the data into application. And then behind that, we have already dashboards and KPI, which their HODs, plant level are monitoring. So they are verifying why, the daily production data and everything is matching. And then we shift them and replace the paper with tablets or mobile, right? So when this comes, now there is no escape because paper is a security that, okay, I will fill it tomorrow. I will fill it after shift ends. But when you take out the paper and give them the digital logbooks, then there is no possibility to enter the data later on. That is one. Second part, here the data is interlinked. So for example, if somebody does not enter the mold data, the melting and the pouring guy will not see the mold data, which mold to be poured. If melting and pouring guy will not enter the data, the QC team will not be able to enter the data of rejections or tensile or taste or hardness and so on and so forth. So this integration part is enabling them that all the part of the chain has to enter the data. There is no escape.
Right.
So that enables them, the complete rollout successfully works.
This application is very good for owner level, I think. Yeah.
So it enables otherwise owner has to literally call every department. Like if I have to ask some question about rejections, I have to call my QC team. If I have to get some data about melting and pouring, I have to call different person. If I have to get idea about molding, then I have to call different person, or fettling or machining. So for me, it's a headache as a management that despite having all the teams, and even those whom I'm calling has not numbers on mind, So if I ask how much fettling is done or how many parts available with machining, they don't know at that moment. So after my call, they will again have to call someone down the line who is a supervisor or shift in charge or somebody. He will collect the data from them. Again, he will call me. So I get 6 calls to get a picture. Now it's on my fingertips. I just go online and check status. Where are the castings lying right now? Which production order or which customer is, completed? at which level, I can see on my own. So my dependency on them is now not anymore.
Okay, I have one more question for you. Like nowadays, generative AI is taking place all over the places and all the applications nowadays. So, is there any scope for you to add on generative AI feature in your application? Like they just ask random questions and your application give you the output in form of the data that they have entered. Is it possible in the future?
Uh, it is going to happen in future. So let's say, just give a practical example where it might work in future. You have been recording, making a simple casing. Let's say I have been making this casing for 10 years, 8 years, right? Now, suddenly I see there is a rise in the rejection. So I can see the trends is initially we were be managing 2-3% rejection. Now it has gone to 8-9%. So my response is that, because as I told you, Foundry is an art, so even the weather matters, temperature matters, humidity matters, all aspects are relevant. So if I'm, let's say in August month, realizing that my rejection has gone up, yeah, so I wanted to find out how and the best level of minimum level of rejections we have achieved in the month of August.
Right.
Periodically, last 2-3 years, doesn't matter, right? That is where your historical data and AI will come in picture, where I can say least rejection in the month of August for casing part. Part ID is so and so. Now my data can search, because all digitalized, then it can say, okay, this is a batch which has least rejection, was produced, let's say in August 2022. We are in 25 now. Now I can say, okay, for this batch, give me all the process related data: sand, mold, mat, pouring, tapping, charge mix, even supplier,
Hmm.
possibilities, right? And then quality data and so on and so forth. So that gives me an idea that if I follow in this manner similar parameters, chances are high that I could bring down my rejection from 9 to the lower level.
Hmm.
Assuming it is related to the process parameter,
Right.
not related to the patterns or some other challenges.
Hmm.
Right? So that is where the AI will come into picture, where you will be able to do all this thing. You can ask questions and system will find out and scout for you your own historical data and give you the answer. Just like you asked to the Chat GPT or Gemini and so on and so forth.
Right. Right. So, in the world, is there any software or application available who are researching on this particular application that we have talked about right now?
Not in my knowledge. The reason being, I believe it is not, because foundries are not sharing the data to any third party. Let's say you have AI capabilities. You can do this, what we just said, right? But unless I don't give you my data,
Hmm.
how would you do this?
Right.
So it means you should come to the Foundry, become part of this, and you develop the AI tool based on historical data stored on AWS cloud or something, and then you could be work on it, but not publicly available. So nobody gives the data into public. So that's why not externally possible. Until you come inwards to the part of this process, then it's possible.
Okay. So now let's talk about some case studies that you have worked with many foundries, right? So I just wanted to know that how digitalization has improved their efficiency level in foundry segment. So can you just tell me any specific example of any industry that you can share?
Right. So let me just give you one or two examples to correlate with this. Our customers who were used to record the data into traditional method, now they have reached to the cases. For example, particularly if I say about two areas, the one biggest challenge in any general foundry is a WIP stock, is known as a work in progress stock. So where am I casting light? Now this looks very simple, like if I take a walk around, I can get a stock. But it is not that easy, because there are batches, there are sub batches, customers, so many dependencies. Now that monitoring completely has gone. So nobody calls anybody, just I said, they can go to the system, just enter the batch. In that batch, if there is a 20 castings were made, they can be able to trace out of this 20, let's say 10 are in fettling, 2 got rejected, 8 hours in machining to dispatch. So that level of traceability of batch-wise every level is available to them, which is practically we have implemented and what customers benefited, which was time consuming for them to know. On the second case, like if technical part are seen, so we have a customer who is making the large windmill components. It's in huge tonnage. So they cannot afford casting rejection, because one part may cost into tonnages. So here they have a record of every single part, how it was made. And if rejection happens, they go back to the earlier part, which they delivered as a good casting. And then they see all the process parameter. They take out the virtually even take out the printouts and ensures that when next part is produced, everybody follows this process parameters. Because something has changed that leads to the rejection. And before that, they take a historical data of last 2-3 parts they made, and then they ensures that everybody gives even hard copy printout that this is exactly this parameter you have to maintain next time. And that leads to the situation where the rejection came down because they are able to use their own historical data. Because they know by following this, we were able to produce good casting. So that has tremendously helped them to reduce rejection because the bulk part, as I told, is in tonnage. So it's not affordable to use even a single piece as a rejection, right? That. And the third part is, in a typical manufacturing process, there are so many unnecessary conversation happens in email, over the phone, face-to-face meeting, many ways, right? So just give you an example. In initially case, before we implemented, our customer when dispatched the truck to the end user or customer, they have to give them a printouts. How many castings, of which page, they have to give the test certificate as well as details about truck number, like driver number and estimated time when it will reach. So this involves that 3%. QC person for making test certificate printout, ensure it goes with the customer and truck. Second person is logistic part, who is managing the truck and all this. And third person is who is counting which batch already loaded quantity is correct, weight and everything. This 3% will know. Now, after implementing the Vezapp solutions to them, everybody is still using application, right? But nobody communicates to the customer. The moment the logistic and dispatch department submits the data, automatic email goes to the customer. Okay. Every customer, every time, every truck wise, which has a list of item, quantity, batch, test certificate, truck number, driver number, expected delivery to reach. Now just imagine if I have 20 customers and if I am delivering 10 trucks a day, I am getting 10 calls from each customer just to ask whether the truck has dispatched or not, whether on which date I will receive the material. This information in the PDF format is available in their email. They can access anytime, they can forward to their group, anything they want to do. So this kind of automation at the level of printouts, simple data collections, email, has reduced drastically time and efficiency of my manpower, because those are key people for me.
Okay.
If my quality engineer spends, let's say, 90 minutes in a 8 hours or 9 hour shift in a day just to answer all this thing, is actually wastage of my salary, which I'm paying to them. So this kind of automation is what they need to drastically reduce the meeting time, overview time by means of digitization.
Now, after all this information, can you just tell me what is the difference between traditional ERP software and your application?
So, over the period of time, if you see, software is generally how it works. Like you give some your requirement, most to the IT companies. So they will have their team, they will prepare the workflow and connection points and everything. Then they will explain to their coding team and they have to go through the coding, they will develop some code and then they will give you software. Or there is a ready-made software available, you just buy it and you have to accept the framework, whether you use it or not. So in traditional software industry, either you customize, develop it or buy ready to use available. In most things, the challenge is where if you asked for development to explain them how materialistic works, how metallurgy works, is a tedious process. So it takes very long time for development, and by the time, even if it takes longer time, the version you will get, likely and highly you will not be satisfied with them, because the metallurgy field, as I said, is very difficult to explain software and broadly from software point of view. So mostly has many people has not very good experience with customize, so to say, giving it to the IT companies and develop it. The second part is you go with the ready-made software. So XYZ software, which is, let's say, maybe designed for specifically Foundry or otherwise. In that case, whatever fields they give you, for example, if I am keeping a software or I'm developing a software for multiple industries, or investment casting, send casting, lost form, hyperscaler casting. So over the period of time, what will happen? That the number of fields you will see, let's say in your today's scenario, your melting person or let's say molding person is filling 15 fields or 10 fields. But in the software, they have 20 to 30 fields. Why? Because the software that they have started has initially 10 fields. The more customer they acquire, the more number of fields keep on adding. So now my user is seeing at the time 20 to 30 fields, which he does not require or she does not require. So I need only 10. But even though if I need 10, I have to see on the screen 30 fields. That makes my user uncomfortable. Because he will or she will get confused among the fields. That is where we are different from others. So we are giving them whatever they say and how many fields they need, precisely is only that, not more, not less. So that is a traditionally difference. And the second part, as I said, we are doing 100% customized, sitting one-to-one with the customer in the time frame of, as I told you, between 3-4 weeks to 6-8 weeks. So that's where the whole thing is different in terms of adaptability and user friendliness. So if you see the user friendliness of our application, of whether the molding or melting, you just see the scrolling and you will find out in the scrolling that these are all very clear fields. What they need, they just have that. So that makes a user friendliness wise and a very big difference, I would say.
Okay. Now tell me how user friendly your application is and what are the features are there. Normal person can also understand the features of your product range.
Right. So coming to the, I will show one example of application. If you see while scrolling this, you will see that, okay, the field name is very precisely mentioned. Now they don't need to type. So they select the batch number, customer number or production order number directly there. So they don't need to have type anything. So that saves time, right? Second thing is that we have put different validations. So for example, if there are 10 castings are poured, the fettling guy cannot do 12. Well, he can only do 10 or less. So if there is a rejection happens in between, then 2 rejection happens. So now fettling is possible only for 8 because 2 are already got rejected. So those type of validation makes the whole system user friendly and error free. That's what the big difference made. Because if I allow them to enter any data without any check and balance, then it will become again just a garbage dump in, dump out, So we don't want that. So that is another part of that. And the number of fields can be also in different languages. So they can have their own languages way of description. For example, somebody in Coimbatore or Tamil Nadu wants a different temperature in their own language. Can be possible. Then maybe in the west or east, or even in the countries where we have implemented like Indonesia, Zambia, and so on and so forth, those countries can have their own way of writing of the fields in their local language. So that makes them much more comfortable in terms of adaptability of the applications.
Okay. Now let's come to the costing part. How you define charges for this type of services, because that is the main headache for every owner. And that if they want to go for digitalization, then this is the main concern,
Right.
right? Then just tell me how you define your cost. Like I wanted to know that is it field wise or how much data that you are grabbing from the customer side.
So basically the costing part is not on size of data. Okay, it's broadly on number of applications that we need to develop, effort and time that's going to implement this, and maintenance of this application. These are the major parts, and fourth is a number of users. So these are the parameters based on which costing arrives. But our, I mean, right from beginning, we have always maintained that Vezapp is for anybody. Whether somebody is making 50 tons or 5,000 tons doesn't matter. It will be affordable and economically available to everyone. Why? Because when you buy some EXE-based software, which we call generally as a perpetual software, you have to upfront pay them for lifetime use. Now, technology is changing so fast that even the software what you are buying today may be in use for 2 years, 5 years, 8 years, but definitely it will not be used for 30 years. So why you want to pay for some software which is extraordinary high price? You have to upfront pay anything between, let's say, 10, 15 lakhs or beyond, right? So that you have to pay one, first of all, upfront, and you don't know what is the life of that software you are going to use. Because as we see in the future, it's not just independent software. Your software and application should be interfaced with ERP, with HR, with maintenance, with IoT device, and many, many things. So it is going to be integrated solution, not independent solution. So that is why if you are buying today, it's just an independent module. It is not going to be used for, despite that you are paying them. On our case, when we work with the SaaS platform, you are paying for 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, let's say, payment, right? So it means we are on our toes that we have to deliver every year. We have to make sure customer is satisfied with the application, with the user friendliness and everything. Because if you are not satisfied in 1 year, next year you will not renew it. So that gives you assurance that we are, so to say, liable to give you satisfactory result. Second, your investment is also secured. Let's say you have every right intention as a Foundry owner to implement the technology, but let's say somehow your teammates, your team were not able to adapt it. So your loss is just 1 year payment. In case of perpetual license, you pay a big amount, and even if they do not adapt, your money is gone.
Right.
So your risk of financial loss is very, very less when it comes to the SaaS-based technology compared to EXE-based technology and perpetual license.
Okay, you have mentioned one word, IoT, means Internet of Things. And I am also doing IoT in our industry. So I wanted to know that which type of parameters that you can enable with your software that they are not using it right now, but they have already mentioned in their PLC or SCADA system, but they are not putting it in your software. What are the future is available there with these type of devices are available in the system?
So basically, IoT has very good applications and areas available in the metal industry. So for example, they have motors, compressors, machines, which are typically, as you know, measures live in real time different parameters. For example, temperature or current or noise, vibrations. This kind of IoTs can be installed on all these machines. As I told you, motors, compressors, different machines, they are using it. And that can monitor the health of that equipments.
Right.
And that gives them a predictive analysis. So if something goes wrong, if maintenance is not done, or if some fault happens, the excess power is drawn or current is drawn or vibration noise increases, they can do maintenance in real time to avoid the breakages. So Another example would be like power consumptions of furnaces, time durations of on and off time. Those kind of things can be also monitored through IoT. So there are many applications in this metal industries where IoT device can be used, and it is still under process of adoption. So it's still reluctant is there, because we have to educate them that it is not once installed it will do on its own. So if somebody is seeing that my motor, let's say the bearing is getting to broken now, so power is drawn, the speed has limitations or noise vibrations are increasing. Somebody needs to still go there, find out the issue and address that. So the concept, or I would say rather myth, that if you implement the IoT, I don't need to see my machines or equipments. It's not true.
Right.
It is helping you that you do not go to that machine or equipment every day and every hour. But when some indications comes to you, you go and attend that.
Right.
So still you have to attend that. It's not an alternative to attend this problem.
Okay, and now let's talk about futuristic part of your software, that what you are looking for in next 10 years, how your application will grow in next 10 years, what are the features that you are going to build in next 10 years?
So as of now, RFID, NFC, real-time data capturing through camera evidence of any type of evidence that they need in the metal industry are already capturing. Next part, but still I would say our applications are at digitalization level.
Okay.
So in coming years, we have been more and more integration with furnaces, with molding machines, with CNC machines, IoT devices, server, SAP, HR, because now even companies are thinking that how to give appraisals based on performance. So it's not just 8 hours you're present in the company is going to make that, what you deliver in the 8 hours, what you deliver and contribute to the productivity, to the company's profitability, that is going to play a role as well. So it means that in the future, the same applications needs to be integrated with all type of another software, IoT device and hardware, where data can be exchanged by that means.
Okay, now let's go to the one last question. Like if you want to give one advice to the foundry owners, then what it would be?
I would say that digitalization is not avoidable. It's only the question whether you want to adopt in 2 years, 5 years time, 7 years time or not. But it is not avoidable, and it is in the larger interest of the foundry to maintain their own legacy. The way they are making the casting parts is based on some process parameter and technicalities. So if you will resolve them right now, it will help you in the future when there will be the coming generation which is blank. It's very difficult for them to train, because if there will be no data, you don't have a reference to tell the next generation how the earlier melting guy were producing the casting.
Right.
So that transformation, that is non-avoidable, it's not avoidable. It is going to be happen. So how to transform that know-how is the way of digitalization that they might need to adopt. As I said, it's just matter of time. It's not avoidable.
Okay, thank you so much for wonderful advice.
Thank you for your good hosting and providing this facility to
But let's
conversation with you.
play one rapid fire
All
round.
right. Okay.
So after your amazing journey, I would like to ask, what is that one word that can describe your life?
I like this line. I would always say it, never settle.
Okay.
So that is something that, because change is permanent, so you have to go with that, I would say.
Okay. Now you are industry guy. So just tell me, what is your one favorite book in industry?
I think I've read that book which was on MVP. MVP is a minimum viable product. I think it is on the same concept, where you have to understand that before you start anything full-fledged, how you break this into small parts.
Okay.
whether it's about implementing Kaizen or implementing a software or implementing anything that you in mind, So that is where MVP is a very good value to study how to your idea, bring it to the live in the phase manner, which is called as a minimum viable product. So I think this is a one book I read and gave me clarity that it requires a process to break down the whole idea into small phases.
Okay. Now, Germany or India, which work culture do you prefer?
Work culture, I mean professional work, right?
Yeah.
Germany.
Okay.
But living culture, of course, by India.
Okay. A business leader who inspires you?
Still, I would say he's not with us, but Ratan Tata was one of that figure. I mean, from taking transitions, I still consider him as one of the icon I always respect and learn from him.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming here. And I would like to end this podcast with one last question. What is that one piece of advice that you can give to our entrepreneurs? Because you have successfully founded 2 startups. So that would be insightful for us. So please share.
I would say patience
Okay.
and keep your eyes open for all the development that's happening, because right now so many things are happening around us. We are not able to keep track of them because it's happening so fast and so many people are doing. So even if you just ask somebody, yeah, by default it comes to chat GPT or XYZ, but it's not the case. There are so many companies, individual entrepreneur, passionate people as an even freelancer are developing so many things technologically which can be adapted to your field. So whichever field you are, there are so many things happening, but we are not aware of them. Like just we are saying to Foundry, they are sometimes confused what technology or which way they should adopt. It's same happening to us as well. So even we are not keeping able to track on rate of different technologies. So I would say open an eye and look after what all the things are happening is one of the very, because these are very useful things happening. And sometimes we are wasting our time or money just because we don't know such kind of technology and tools are available. So I would recommend to keep on. That's what helping me. I mean, I am not that level that I can say so many followers are following me or something, but I would say it's helping me. So maybe it's helping to others as well.
Okay. Thank you so much, Bhushan Bhai, for
Thank you,
coming
Raj,
here.
for your
And
nice
thank you
conversation.
so much for your valuable insight on foundry industry.
Nice conversation with you. I really enjoyed it. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.